We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Ottawa resident tested positive for COVID-19 after notification from COVID-19 Alert app. BC introduces fines to those not complying with COVID-19 regulations. In BC, a COVID-19 outbreak at Surrey Memorial Hospital. China resumes direct international flights to Beijing. End of World War II commemorated in Hawaii and virtually amid the pandemic. And in sports, Canadian NBA Hall of Famer Stephen Nash is appointed as the new head coach of Brooklyn Nets. Hello everyone, you're watching Eagle News International from Canada. I'm Kat Joy reporting in from Calgary, Alberta, bringing you stories from across the globe.
Most schools in Ontario will open on September 8, and as this day comes closer, the anxiety of parents, teachers, students, education workers, and the government continues to increase. Ontario teachers and education worker unions are calling for smaller class sizes, more space to help facilitate 2 meters of physical distancing both in the classrooms and school buses, and improved ventilation, amongst others. The teachers' unions are claiming that the provincial guidelines are not the same as the stricter health protocols being implemented in workplaces and other public spaces throughout the province. Almost every day, Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Minister of Education Stephen Lecce are asked during their daily COVID-19 press briefings about issues surrounding the opening of schools. This has led to an aggressive exchange of words between the Premier and the teachers' unions. Take a look.
I have an idea. Why don't they try to help out? Why don't they pitch in? Why don't they be positive? Instead of painting a picture of apocalypse, the world's coming to an end, why don't they jump in there like the great principals that I've talked to, the great teachers that apologize for their behavior to me every time I see a teacher. So all the teachers, I have all the confidence in the world. You guys are champions. I have confidence in the principal, and I'll listen to the docs and the health and science all day long, opposed to some head of the teachers union that has his degree in English literature, you know, as Harvey does. So I think the parents would rather us listen to the doctors opposed to some guy with a degree in English literature, which thinks he's a doctor.
In response to this, Harvey Bishop, president of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, took to Twitter and expressed his reply to the Premier's comments about his academic background and the union. Take a listen. We first offered to assist the Ministry of Education on March 12, the day the closures were announced. They have ignored us since. To be clear, I cited my academic background as the reason I listened to the medical experts rather than substitute my own judgment. When the SickKids report says we should limit class size as a priority strategy for a safe return, I'd prefer that the Premier not substitute his own judgment for theirs either. As of September 3rd, discussions between the Ford government and the 4 major teachers' unions are still ongoing. In Toronto, April Masangsang, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
An Ottawa resident tested positive for COVID-19 after being alerted to a close contact with a confirmed case through the COVID Alert app. Here is Eagle News correspondent Andre Lejoie with a report.
A Ottawa resident tested positive for the COVID-19 after being alerted to a close contact with a confirmed case through the COVID-19 Alert app. Medical officer in health, Dr. Vera Hitch, shared the story during a media availability with reporters on Wednesday, saying it highlights the importance of using the app to help limit the spread of COVID-19. Dr. Hitch says the individual received a notification through a COVID Alert app that they were in close contact with a confirmed case of COVID-19. That individual presented for a testing and tested positive for COVID-19. This is useful, says Dr. Hesh. The more people that download the COVID-19 app, the better, says Dr. Hesh. It will help us. The larger percentage of population that use the app, says Dr. Hesh, the COVID-19 app was downloaded more than 2.2 million times at the first month after its launch. Health Canada says Ottawa only 110 people who tested positive for COVID-19 entered the information into the app to notify others of possible exposure to novel coronavirus. However, last week, the Quebec government announced that it would not implement the use of such application on its territory. He believes that its tool is not useful since the measures already in place have helped to contain and spread the virus, says the government of Quebec. This is André Lajoie with Eagle News in Ottawa, Canada. We live in interesting times.
In British Columbia, the government is introducing stricter measures to enforce COVID-19 regulations. Eagle News correspondent Vanessa De La Cruz has the details.
Last week, BC introduced fines for people who are not compliant with the COVID-19 regulations. Mike Farnworth has said that 10 violation tickets were issued between August 21 and August 28, including 6 $2,000 fines against party organisers and fines for 4 individuals worth $200 each. The $2,000 fines are for businesses, owners, or event organisers breaking provincial health orders on gatherings, as seen by Mike Farnworth.
The province is enabling police and other enforcement officers to issue $2,000 violation tickets to owners or organisers for contraventions of the provincial health officer's order on gatherings and events. This includes violations such as hosting or organising a gathering or event in excess of 50 people, not keeping a list and contact information of everyone who attends an event, or hosting more than 5 guests gathered in vacation accommodation, such as an Airbnb.
Officers are also allowed to ticket individuals $200 if they do not follow the direction of the police or staff at events.
To this end, police and other enforcement officers will be able to issue $200 violation tickets for anyone actively encouraging large gathering or events or refusing to leave or disperse when directed to do so, and $200 violation tickets for those refusing to follow the safe operating plans of businesses or anyone who engages in bullying or abusive behavior towards employees.
With the rise of cases across the province, enforcement is needed, as seen in the total $13,000 fines that were handed out in the first week for some businesses in Surrey, Richmond, and House Party in Victoria. I'm Vanessa De La Cruz in Victoria, BC. Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
In Surrey, British Columbia, enhanced precautions have been implemented at the Surrey Memorial Hospital after a patient tested positive for COVID-19. Eagle News correspondent Arnie Aquino reports.
After a patient tested positive for the COVID-19 at Surrey Memorial Hospital, a memo was sent to hospital staff to inform them of the outbreak. The hospital also has implemented enhanced precautions due to the outbreak. The outbreak happened at the nephrology unit, which will now be temporarily closed to admissions and visitors. The rest of the hospital remains open. According to Hospital Executive Director Martha Cloutier and Site Medical Director Dr. Rob McDermott, enhanced precautions were implemented immediately as well as contact tracing. There is no impact to any other areas of the hospital, the staff memo says. In Vancouver, Arnie Aquino, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
The first international flight in more than 5 months landed in China's capital, with passengers greeted by airport staff in full hazmat suits as ban on foreign arrivals in Beijing eased. Chinese aviation authorities are allowing arrivals in Beijing under intense COVID-19 safety rules from Thailand, Cambodia, Pakistan, Greece, Denmark, Austria, Sweden, and Canada, countries deemed low risk for cross-border infections. Travelers arriving in China need to show a negative coronavirus test before boarding and are subjected to centralized quarantine on arrival for 14 days, along with 2 more tests, officials said this week. CCTV says the number of passengers on direct international flights to Beijing is capped at 500 per day during a trial period. Since late March, Beijing-bound international flights have been diverted to other Chinese cities, where passengers are screened for coronavirus and quarantined. 11 cases were reported Thursday in China, where the coronavirus first emerged late last year. Health officials said they were all imported. China remains wary of risk of an influx of cases from other countries now that its local outbreaks have been largely brought under control. Most foreigners are still forbidden entry into the country. Coming up, end of World War II commemorated in Hawaii and virtually amid the pandemic. In sports, Canadian NBA Hall of Famer Stephen Nash is appointed as the new head of coach of Brooklyn Nets. Eagle News International continues after this.
Tamang impormasyon, napapanahon, Ula Batanes hanggang taon-taon, di lamang sa bansa kundi maging sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Mga balitang makabuluhan, mga panayam sa kinauukulan, subaybayan. Dito lamang sa Net25. News, entertainment, technology.
Do you want to earn a degree while you work? New Era University now offers Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETIAP. ETIAP is an educational scheme that recognizes knowledge, skills, and prior learning obtained by individuals from non-formal and informal education experiences. It is implemented through deputized higher educational institutions like the New Era University that awards the appropriate degrees. Programs offered are the following: Master's Program, Masters of Arts in Education, major in Educational Management, Master's Program in Business Administration, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Mass Communication, Bachelor of Science in Education, major in Filipino, major in English, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with majors in Human Resources Development, Marketing Management, and Financial Management. Beneficiaries must be Filipinos who have attained at least high school level of education. The program is flexible and you don't need to attend regular classes. Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETIAP, is under the supervision of Dr. Nilo L. Rosas, the University President, and Professor Anita P. Santos, Director of ETIAP. For more information, contact the following: Cristina Moreno, 0995-138-0786, or email cvmoreno@neu.edu.ph, or Arlene Sarmiento, 0906-298-9150, or email cedctl@neu.edu.ph. What are you waiting for? Let New Era University be your partner in achieving your dreams.
Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News International from Canada. I'm Kat Joy from Calgary, Alberta. September 2nd marks the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. A memorable yet scaled-down ceremony took place in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, where dignitaries of no more than 50 included surviving war veterans, Governor David Ige, and Navy Admiral Philip Davidson of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. But it was the keynote speaker's remarks that our Eagle News Hawaii correspondent Mio Asenas highlights in her report.
It is fitting that we are gathered here today on USS Missouri, where the conflict in the Pacific came to an end on this day in 1945. This ship, which was built for war, has since been dedicated to peace and reconciliation. It now rests in the very harbor where more than 2,400 Americans paid the ultimate price nearly 8 decades ago at the beginning of World War II.
Days before the actual ceremony, organizers hosted a Legacy of Peace aerial parade, wherein combat airplanes of different shapes and sizes used in World War II flew several times around the island of Oahu. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the event itself had to be scaled down by invitation only, while others had to join in virtually via live stream. The event began promptly at 9:02 a.m., which was the actual time that Japan formally surrendered to the Allies in a ceremony that ended the deadliest conflict in human history. The destroyer USS Michael Murphy rendered honors as she sailed by the Missouri and Arizona Memorial, which marked the beginning of America's involvement in World War II. Defense Secretary and keynote speaker Mark T. Esper described the long-term effects of the war and the role that the United States had to take on to prevent such a war from happening again.
In the aftermath of World War II, the United States assumed the mantle and the responsibility of leadership, recognizing that the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans would no longer protect us from conflicts started abroad, from ideologies with hegemonic ambitions, or from governments with malign intentions. It was America's time to lead, and we did so, guided by our founding principles and core values. The United States rose to the challenge. We built relationships with like-minded nations based on reciprocal trade, not predatory economics, based on respect for the sovereignty of all countries, not a strategy of might makes right, based on a commitment to always honoring our international obligations, not just when they serve our interests, and most importantly, based on our enduring values and beliefs. From our alliances with Japan, South Korea, and Australia, to our long collaboration with ASEAN countries, India, New Zealand, and the Pacific Island countries. Growing, deepening, and unifying this network must remain central to our collective strategy to ensure peace and prosperity for another 75 years and beyond. We welcome every nation, especially those that have benefited most from today's international system, to join us in this effort. For decades, the United States and our partners have based our efforts on the belief that today's free and open order, however imperfect, is worth fighting for. And while this system has largely remained intact, we cannot take it for granted or leave its future up to chance. That is why, together, we are committed to improving it and remain ready to defend it, much like the greatest generation did when history called and fate challenged.
Finally, the Secretary thanked all the veterans for their service and sacrifice in defending the nation.
It is because of your selfless service and your sacrifice that we live in peace and prosperity today. And it is your legacy that inspires us in our efforts to uphold the freedoms and values for which you so nobly fought. Thank you all very much.
The end of World War II in Europe, also known as VE Day, will be commemorated in Washington, D.C. on September 25th. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Mio Asenas for Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
The 43rd Winterlude will take place in Ottawa, Canada from February 5th to 17, 2021 in the National Capital Region. However, due to the restriction imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, Canadian Heritage is currently evaluating the question of the format that it will take, in particular by the consulting many partners, indicates spokesman for the Media Relations Office of the Ministry, Amélie Desmarais. The format and programming of the festival will be announced on the appropriate time, concludes Ms. Desmarais. Every year in February, Winterlude activities bring the region to life on both sides of the river in Ottawa-Gatineau, notably through family programming at Domaine des Flocons in Gatineau, as well as the skating on the Rideau Canal and sculptures on ice in Ottawa. Canadian Heritage confirms the next Winterlude organizers in the Quebec Winter Carnival announced on Monday that their event would go ahead from February 5th to 14, 2021, despite the pandemic. Here in Ottawa, Canada, this is André Lajoie. We live in interesting times.
Now in sports, Canadian NBA Hall of Famer Stephen Nash has been appointed as the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. EBC sports correspondent Zarita Sese reports.
With the first-round exit of the Brooklyn Nets at the hands of the Toronto Raptors, Brooklyn's search for a new head coach began almost immediately after their time in the Disney bubble. Various names were being thrown around as to who will take over as head coach, but it was recently confirmed that Canadian NBA Hall of Famer Steve Nash signed a 4-year contract with the Nets. This job was left vacant as the organization departed with Kenny Atkinson earlier this season. Atkinson served as head coach from 2016 to 2020 and led them to the playoffs during the 2018-19 season, only to be eliminated in the first round by the Philadelphia 76ers. Nets interim coach Jacques Vaughn will remain with the organization as the lead assistant coach on Nash's coaching staff. Despite the lack of coaching experience, Nash has a 19-year career under his belt, where he played alongside Shaquille O'Neal on the legendary Phoenix Suns, Dirk Nowitzki of the Dallas Mavericks, and recently the late Kobe Bryant and the LA Lakers. In addition to great mentors, Nash himself is a 2-time NBA League MVP and an 8-time All-Star. His success is also seen on the international stage, as Nash is a key contributor for Canada basketball, both as a player and part of the front office. Despite never winning a ring as a player, Nash's most current role as player development coach with the Golden State Warriors allowed him back-to-back rings in 2016 and 2017. Though many were surprised by the choice, Nash does have ties with Nets star Kevin Durant as they worked together during their time with the Warriors, and may be the reason for their reunion. With the likes of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on the team's roster, all eyes will be on this organization to see how this player-turned-coach can lead this team to a ring. From Toronto, Canada, Zarita Sese. Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Resilience is the best word to describe the Toronto Raptors' performance against the Boston Celtics on Saturday. The defending champions evened their series with the Celtics at 2 games apiece.
You know, we're a team that just goes out there and we understand that it's the first of 4. Ride the wave, understand that, there's going to be some ups, there'll be some downs, there's going to be some, some shots that go in, some shots that miss. But all you can do is continue to work and continue to, rely on what your principles are and play extremely hard.
I think getting a win, feeling a little better about ourselves allows you to have some mojo and some better swag, and it just puts a better, magic on the ball that can let you shoot at peace, and every shot isn't a home run, especially, when you're playing from a deficit, trying to come back. I think that happened a lot in game 1, carried over a little bit to game 2, and I think we're working ourselves back into who we know we can be as good shooters, and we're not going to keep missing them all. So got to keep stepping up and taking open ones and taking good ones, and, we'll live with that.
Stay tuned to Eagle News for more updates and highlights from the NBA bubble. In New York, Tenny Samagi, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
We end our program today with some music. Here is Ira Reyes from Vancouver. She sings a tune made popular by Stevie Wonder. It's called Isn't She Lovely?
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than 1 minute old. I never thought through love would be making one as lovely as she. But isn't she lovely? Made from love. Isn't she pretty? Truly the angel's best. Boy, I'm so happy. We have been heaven blessed. Can't believe what God has done. Through us is giving love to one. But isn't she lovely, made from love? Isn't she lovely? Life and love are the same. Life is Asia, the meaning of her name. Long did good have not been done without you can see the one that's very lovely, made from love.
That's our program for today. Join us again next week as we bring stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook, facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I am Kat Joy. We live in interesting times.
Established 1975, rising in the list of top-performing universities in the country, a pioneer in inclusive education and an institution with a dynamic education in response to societal needs. With already 5 campuses throughout the country, this is the New Era University. These are the programs offered in the branches outside of Metro Manila, starting off with the New Era University, Pampanga branch. This is the first branch outside of Metro Manila and now offers complete basic education, K-12 and collegiate programs. For the basic education, preschool, nursery, kinder, elementary, grades 1 to 6, junior high school, grades 7 to 10, and senior high school, grades 11 to 12. These are the available strands for senior high school for academics, STEM, ABM, HUMS, technical, vocational, industrial arts, ICT, home economics, and for sports, human movement and safety and first aid. For the New Era University Lipa branch, initially offering preschool and elementary, the branch now offers secondary education program, K-12 curriculum with the senior high school program and the School of Graduate Studies. For the basic education, preschool, nursery, kinder, elementary, grades 1 to 6, junior high school, grades 7 to 10, senior high school, grades 11 and 12, and the SPAD program. For the senior high school tracks, academic, ABM, STEM, HUMS, technical, vocational, ICT, home economics, industrial arts, sports track, arts and design. For the New Era University General Santos branch, at first offering the preschool education program, this branch now fully offers the K-12 program with senior high school. For the basic education, preschool, nursery, kinder, elementary, grades 1 to 6, junior high school, grades 7 to 10, senior high school, grades 11 to 12, and the SPAD program. Senior high school tracks and strands available: accountancy, business and management, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and humanities and social sciences. So what are you waiting for? Enroll now and be a part of the new normal. Be a part of New Era University.
Ang susunod na programa ay Rated G. Ito ay pwede sa lahat ng manonood.
Hi! I am Teacher Sally.